Hello and welcome to the number one championship podcast. The second tier, I'm Ryan Dilks, and this is our reaction straight off the back of Norwich City coming from a goal down to secure a massive victory over Coventry City. The league leaders 2-1 it finished at Carrow Road this Monday night. I'm of course, as always, joined by the Liam Manning to my Philippe Clement. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Well, Justin. Another twist in this roller coaster season for Coventry City. Obviously got a lot to unpack here, but what a game we have witnessed here this Monday night.
Honestly, it was brilliant. It really was end-to-end stuff. There was balls cleared off the line. There was the woodwork being well worked. Goodness me. There was potential controversial decisions not being made. Red cards missed. Decent goals as well. What a game of football. Not a game of football you'd expect from a team at the bottom of the table either. But wow. What a game.
Well, as we'll get on to, this is obviously no ordinary team near the bottom of the table. I was expecting this to be a good game because Norwich have obviously got a lot better since the early days of the season, and Coventry look like they may be turning a corner. All of that will be discussed in due course, obviously. But if you are joining us live tonight on this YouTube live stream, then first of all, hello. Please leave a comment. Get involved in the conversation. We'll try to read out as many of your comments and questions as we can over the forthcoming few minutes. Also, if you are watching this live tonight or watching it in post, then please make sure you like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this after it's all gone out, then please leave a review on whichever platform you are listening to us on. But let's dive into things, Justin, because, as I say, a lot to unpack right here. Coventry got the goals underway in the 38th minute. Romain Esse firing them ahead against the run of play. I think it's fair to say Norwich came closest up until that point. It was a pretty tight game, to be honest, but Norwich definitely had the better of it, didn't they? But Coventry managing to nip ahead with Esse.
Yeah, and I think it was Norwich keeper Kovacevic. And he's one of those where he can win you points alone, but there are sometimes he's got a bit of a rick in him, and him getting beaten at the near post by Romain Esse was probably an element of that. But it was a great build up and great goal from Coventry, and you are right, it was somewhat against a run of play. I thought Coventry had their fair share of excitement in the game up until that point, but Norwich probably carved them open a couple of times without really penetrating them, as we know. But yeah, Coventry getting ahead at that time, a few minutes before the half-time whistle, was a massive moment. Obviously, it didn't matter with how Norwich responded in the second half, but it was a big goal for Coventry, especially in the manner of how the game was swinging.
Yeah, I think Coventry started probably the better in the first 10 minutes, and then the game evened out a bit, and then Norwich started to get a bit of a foothold in it, and then Coventry obviously got the goal. I believe that was their first shot in over half an hour. Well, that passage, because I think there were like 3 shots in the space up leading up to the goal. But yeah, they had really dropped out of the game somewhat, defending well, but yeah, were definitely not the better side at that point by any means. So it did come against the run of play a fair bit. Haji Wright had a chance from close range not long after that, but Coventry definitely heading into the half-time break, the happier of the two sides, obviously being a goal ahead. And then Norwich came flying out the traps in the second half, didn't they? Just 30 seconds into the second half, Anis Ben Slimani equalising for Norwich. Not long after that, Coventry had a bit of a bite back with Callum Fisher having to clear one off the line from Haji Wright after Mason Clark hitting the bar with a header from point blank range. You're looking at it thinking, well, this game seems to be going in the complete opposite to how the first half was, Justin, where obviously Norwich got the goal, but Coventry were probably the better team in that period. But then the 67th minute, a mistake from Liam Kitching led to Norwich going ahead through Ali Ahmed. And yeah, poor Liam Kitching, he's had a bit of a mare there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. It's quite ironic that we talk about Coventry scoring against the run of play in the first half. You can argue that Norwich did the same here. I mean, obviously the way the the second goal came about from Norwich's point of view with Ali Ahmed. It's just lapsing on an error of judgment. Liam Kitchen taking far too long on the ball. I don't know what he was doing with that, but I know both Bobby Thomas and Liam Kitchen have come under a lot of criticism from Coventry fans in recent weeks because of form, because of bad form, conceding a lot of goals, and obviously the mistake here has cost Coventry dearly. You could see it on his face, poor Liam Kitchen, where he's just basically just crouched down and he's just looking at the floor. He's not happy with himself, and he shouldn't be either, because ultimately he's cost Coventry a set of points here. But what a clinical way of getting back into the game. And Ali Ahmed, I thought he was brilliant here. I thought he was brilliant all game, getting the just desserts with the goal as well.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that mistake by Liam Kitching wasn't the only mistake on the ball that Coventry made in that second half. They got caught napping on a few occasions in that second half. They just looked very, very nervous and a bit rattled, really, after the point where Norwich equalised. Of course, they did have a couple of very good chances themselves, but this looked a lot more like the Coventry that we have seen recently prior to the back-to-back wins that they just secured before that. Because, yeah, as soon as they had a bit of a knockback, they looked very, very unsettled. But we'll discuss that more shortly, because Ali Ahmed getting the goal here, he also got the assist for the first goal too, with a brilliant little through ball to Slimani. I've been very impressed with him. Justin, we've got a comment here from Brandon who says Ben Napper has finally done something good with bringing in Ali Ahmed. What a gem. And yeah, absolutely right. I believe that's his fourth goal contribution in just 3 games in a Norwich shirt so far. He's looked very impressive, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's just so direct. He's so direct. He's so energetic, and he's got that a bit about him that I think Norwich have missed. That just, I wouldn't say aggression, but the directness that he's got just to attack. I think when you've got someone in in your team like that, you want to get the ball to him as often as possible, because they're going to make things happen no matter what. There's just this unwavering habit of doing so. And when you blend that with the likes of Trevor McCarmer and others in the squad as well who are starting to come to the fore, you can argue that Ben Napper has done good. He's done a few more good things here, but less said maybe about Ben Napper the better from a Norwich point of view, because a lot of the problems this season have stemmed from him. But what you can say is he's done good by finding a quality left winger. He looks like a proper winger, Ali Ahmed, not his cutting inside nonsense. He gets the ball, he just runs and runs and runs.
Yeah, he's looked very, very good. He's joined from the MLS, obviously coming from Vancouver, and I did hear some very, very good reports about him over there. And still, with Ben Napper's recruitment record at Norwich over the time he's been there, the sporting director, of course, did come with a bit of scepticism, but yeah, he's looked very, very good. A comment here from Atal, who said, Ahmed's not here to take part. He's here to take over a Premier League talent. And based off what I've seen so far, I won't disagree with that at all. If you are watching this live tonight, ladies and gents, then leave as many comments as you can. We'll try to read out as many as we can over the forthcoming minutes or so as we glide through the rest of the action. I think from that point on, Justin, Coventry, I think they had a chance from Josh Eccles heading over from close range. But apart from that, despite going a goal behind, Coventry didn't respond that well, did they? They didn't really go at Norwich from that point on, really struggled to lay a glove on them. And ultimately, Norwich handled the game very well, but they weren't really that troubled after going ahead, were they?
It's quite interesting that this game was a bit of a seesaw match where at one point it was Norwich who were flying.
How does a
with
seesaw match work? Like competitive seesawing?
No, not a literal seesaw. What I mean is game momentum. It's Norwich, it's Coventry, it's Norwich, it's Coventry. Then Norwich go 2-1 up. Then Norwich just, I don't know whether it's good to be at the bottom or the top of a seesaw.
So not a competitive seesaw. We're just making that clear.
Yeah, it's not a literal seesaw. It's an analogy.
You said a seesaw match.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm getting at is, one team's on top, then the other team's on top, and what happened after Norwich score is Coventry were somewhat struggling to get a foothold in it. It felt like energy and momentum had just left them, and that's a bit of a concern, because what we've seen with Middlesbrough in recent weeks is, doesn't matter how many gloves you lay on us, we're going to go for you. And we've seen that with Coventry a fair few times this season, that they can do that, especially last season as well. You might have late goals they scored last season. not quite seeing it this season. Maybe it's an energy thing. Maybe it's the pressure of pushing as high as they are in the table this season. But the reaction to going 2-1 down, I thought was pretty poor for a team who are trying to go for automatic promotion.
Well, top of the league, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're more than going for just that. Yeah, I think that second half will be a massive cause for concern for Coventry fans. And let's not take anything away from Norwich. They are clearly a completely different side to the one who we saw previously. And losing there isn't a massive disgrace, but the response in the second half to conceding so early, I think, is a massive concern because mentally they looked so fragile, didn't they? They looked completely and utterly rattled. And as I was saying, went a goal behind. This is Coventry we're talking about here, who were breaking all sorts of goal scoring records earlier on in the season, but they're a goal behind and didn't look like they were ever going to come close to scoring from the point where Norwich went ahead. So, yeah, a massive cause for concern there. And we'll talk about that more in due course. But ladies and gents, if you are watching today's show, then now is the perfect time to sign up to the second tier YouTube membership community, where for just £4.99 a month, you'll get custom emojis to use in these live streams and the comment section of every YouTube video. You'll also get access to the seconded Discord, where you can chat to us and loads of other Championship fans. And in addition to that, you'll get an exclusive video from us every single week. Just hit the join icon right next to the subscribe button right now, and we'll talk more about Coventry in due course because, yeah, this is certainly got massive ramifications in terms of the automatic promotion race, hasn't it? But we need to throw more praise at Norwich City, don't we, Justin? Because this is one huge step closer to safety. It's their 6th win in their last 9 league games, and you know what? I say one step closer to safety. I think we've gone past that now, haven't they? This Norwich team is not going down based off what we've seen of them under Philippe Clement.
No, they've really built up a resilience, and under Liam Manning it felt directionless. It was possession for possession's sake at times, wasn't it? Whereas with this Clement side, goodness me, they can be relentless in how they attack. They can be quite smart in how they play as well. They can break down opposition and nullify their strengths. And to be fair, I thought they did that with Coventry here. How quick Norwich were on transition. That wasn't a flash in the pan thing for them in this game. Coventry in recent weeks have been leaving a lot of players up front, and therefore getting through the midfield has been quite easy. And I thought time and time again Norwich did that here, and they really exploited those weaknesses. And that's what I mean. Philippe Clement has been able to spot a lot of weaknesses in opposition, which is why they're scoring a lot of goals. But it's helped by having quality players in good form. Jovan Makama didn't get a goal here, but I thought his number 9 play was fantastic. Yeah. He really led the line. He's the exact number 9 I want in my team, in especially how he played here. The responsibility he had, his hold-up play, his bringing others, his work rate. It was brilliant. I think the only thing he did wrong was not stretching for that cross along the box in the first half. He could have really maybe got to the point where he was just about to pull his groin, but not by stretching for it and putting Norwich 1-0 up. But like I said, Fisher was great. Martin in the first half I thought was really solid. Kenny McLean ran the midfield as well. You know, Matt Grimes might want to take note of how to dominate a midfield because Kenny McLean did that here.
Bit of a needless dig at old Grimesy there, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree because McLean was absolutely top class here. I think Norwich in general were top class. Rory McConville, I think, is someone who's worthy of a shout as well. Yeah. Someone who wasn't really getting much of a look in under Liam Manning, but under Clement looks like an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. I know you hate that phrase, Justin, but it feels very apt when talking about him. But I mean, he's not the only one really who looks a completely different player under Clement. Anis Ben Slimani joined last summer, I think, and didn't do a whole lot in a Norwich shirt last season after costing a few million, I believe. Recently, in these last handful of games, has looked very, very, very handy. We've already talked about Ali Ahmed's new signing, looks fantastic. Jovan Makama, echoing your points. As far as a number 9's performance goes, who didn't get on the score sheet, that's as good as you can possibly ask for. He was brilliant in this game at stretching the defence and holding up the ball. Yeah, this Norwich team just looks completely transformed to the one that we saw under Liam Manning. And that's why I don't think relegation is any sort of a concern at this stage. I mean, you look at the league table now, relegation, there's a fair gap now between them and the bottom three. But under Clement, they've only lost 4 in 15 since he's come in, which, I mean, chalk and cheese compared to the days when Liam Manning was being called 007 for his home record at Carrow Road this season. Got some comments here from, I assume, Norwich fans. Maybe not, but either way, full of praise for the job that Philippe Clement is doing. Nevsky here says if Clement keeps Norwich up or maybe gets them to finish higher, he's got to be in a shout for Manager of the Year. This team is night and day to the one under Liam Manning. Elliot says genuinely Philippe Clement is one of the top 3 managers in the league. And to go back to what Nevsky was just saying there, Justin, Manager of the Year, I mean, he's only been there for what, 2 months? But I don't think that's a ridiculous shout because the turnaround genuinely is astonishing.
I think in the context of Liam Manning being an absolute disaster and being 007, as you rightly pointed out, yes, the contrast is huge. There'll be a lot of debate come the end of the season, obviously, as to who's manager of the season. It will probably go to whoever wins the league, if unofficially. Obviously, the official awards are second-tier ones. We need to point that out. So it's up to us to bring balance back into the Championship. But with Philippe Clement and the job he's done, the turnaround, as I say, is remarkable because this team was on a fast track down to League One. Again, ironic that Liam Manning's now managing League One because he was taking Norwich there, wasn't he? But what it's the turnaround in the atmosphere at the club, I think, is the biggest thing.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
You go back to the end of the Liam Manning era when there were constant chants of "we want Napa out." Listen to the noise at full time in that game just then. It's no one would have imagined that 2 months later, would they?
No, exactly. And look, style of play is improved. They've got a bit more purpose. Like I said, Clement's very good at spotting weaknesses, but Philippe Clement's a good manager. But he's had to manage a lot more than the players coming into Norwich. He's had to calm the fan base down, make sure Ben Napa takes less heat and the board takes less heat. And he's doing that by winning games of football. By winning games of football, by playing well. These games aren't a fluke that they're winning. So, yeah, the atmosphere, I think, is the biggest turnaround. So if you're going to give Philippe Clement Manager of the Year, give it him now, just for the fact that he's turned a toxic club into one that's joyful again.
Yeah, the feel-good factor appears to be back at Norwich, and that seemed to be a long, long way away not too long ago, and it wouldn't have been a huge surprise if Norwich were in genuine danger of being relegated come May. But yeah, I mean, Clement, just fantastic what he's done. Norwich were an absolute mess at the back when he came in, and he's managed to sturdy that up, and he's managed to get them scoring freely despite obviously missing their star striker, in quotation marks, in Josh Sargent. But I think it is worth mentioning what's happening there, because the reports from the past week say that he has apparently decided he's played his last game for Norwich after feeling he was disrespected in a so-called clear the air meeting, Justin. There was reportedly a disagreement or a comment which was made in that said meeting where the sporting director Ben Napa reportedly, allegedly, made a remark in relation to Sargent's family that left the striker feeling disrespected and very upset. So what happens next with Sargent? Who knows? But if you got a comment here from Jay Pooks who says, if you listen closely, you can hear Josh Sargent screaming into his pillow because, quite frankly, Norwich look a lot better without him, don't they?
This is the thing. They absolutely do. They absolutely. And it's not to suggest that Josh Sargent was holding Norwich back in any means, but they do look better without him. The balance and the energy is there. Look, Josh Sargent's going to improve any team that he's in because he's a top-class forward and he's shown that time and time again at this level. But the way he's acted, in my opinion, I've not liked it at all. I think he needs to really look forward to the future, because if I was Norwich after all of this, I would just say you can hang out in the 121s then, and you can lose your place in the US national squad unless you get yourself sorted and start acting like an adult. Start acting your age, Josh. That's it. That's what I would say. But they do look a lot more balanced. They still look good going forwards. They're not missing him.
No, that's it. I peddled the stat the other day that Norwich's win ratio with and without Sargent is astonishing contrast. I don't have it in front of me, but Norwich have been doing very, very well without him. But they do look a lot better, a lot better side. Whether that's just because Sargent wanted to move away and wasn't as motivated as he once was, I don't know. That's pure speculation on my behalf. And where that saga goes next, I don't know. But it's not. That's the kind of thing that could very easily derail a side. But Norwich haven't let that happen. And they're looking all the better for it. So yeah, Norwich City looking very, very good. Like a completely different side to the one who we saw earlier in the season. And this now means that they've got breathing room between them and the bottom three. They've moved up to 18th with a 4-point cushion on the bottom three. And if this run of form is anything to go by, it'd be very surprising if they were to get dragged back into that, wouldn't it? Speaking of getting dragged back into things, though, Justin, Coventry City. Just 4 wins in 12 now for them. Did have back-to-back wins in the lead up to this, and I think we'll both say, Justin, that they looked like they were getting back on track. But that second half, a massive cause for concern and makes you wonder where Coventry go next.
Yeah, well, the difference is home and away, literally. They are a very, very good side at home. They don't know how to lose at home, and that's a very good trait. But away from home, especially recently, they look, I'm going to be blunt here, like complete garbage. Yes, they create chances here, but how open they are defensively, midfield. I don't want to shout too much at Bobby Thomas and Liam Kitching for being shaky, but the midfield really does look weak for me. Something that I said a couple of weeks ago is they need players in that middle to really make it more compact and battle hardened, if you like. When they signed Romain S and Yang Min Hyuk, they need energy in that midfield, and I think that was quite apparent in this game that they lacked that little bit of edge to last 90 minutes, that little bit of experience in the middle as well. It wasn't great. It wasn't great to watch, and it does worry you. Luckily for them, Ipswich also aren't winning away from home, so that's probably bailing them out at the moment. But that away form really does need to improve.
Got a comment here from Bromide who says, as a Coventry fan, I thought we were terrible. We looked leggy and disorganised. We looked like a mid-table side. And if things carry on like this, then Borough will be champions. Yeah, I think with the context of the last couple of games, Coventry were dealt some blows in those 2 games. They beat Leicester and Millwall. And they were very, very good victories because both sides, even Leicester, we've been very critical of Leicester this season, but that was one of Leicester's better performances this season. And they gave Coventry a really good game. Coventry responded really, really well in both of those. So that's got to be kept in mind here. But the fragile mentality in that second half is a big cause for concern for me because Coventry, prior to those back-to-back games, did look like a side who were rattled, who were unsettled about whether they were going to be, don't want to say the B word, but they looked like they may be throwing away how good a position they had. And, well, obviously they're still in a very good position right now. You know, it could very easily manifest itself into something quite vicious. And they looked like they were getting over it, but then that second half was the edgy Coventry that we've seen all over again. Defenders making silly mistakes on the ball. And then attackers not really knowing what to do with themselves when it came to trying to get back level after going a goal behind. I do think, dare I criticise him, but I think Frank Lampard's game management in this game could have been a lot better. And I think just the lack of control they've had in a lot of games for most, well, ever since that winning run started to tail off, the Coventry have really struggled in controlling games. We've spoken about that loads because defensively they've been shaky. Cole Rushworth has been a very busy goalkeeper. He wasn't massively busy in this game, but that defence looks shaky all over again. So, well, we're back where we started, aren't we? Prior to those back-to-back wins. And we've got a comment here from Terry Justin, who says, if Coventry fell into the playoffs, do you think they would win them? Obviously, it's still a long way to go in that regard, but that's looking a distinct possibility all over again, isn't it?
No, if Coventry end up in the playoffs, they won't win them. They're not a defensively minded team, and you've got to be good defensively to win the playoffs because it's game by game management. And like you've pointed out, Coventry have really lacked that. They're a good side going forwards. They're the best side in the division going forwards, but defensively, they're slipping down the table. They are. They really, really are. They somewhat give me echoes of that Derby side from the 2014-15 season. That was a complete capitulation. At the point of the end of January, I think they were 5 points ahead of third place. They were well in the playoffs, but defensive issues, lack of control in games. Going forwards, they were fine, but it was those issues that was mentioned that became the problem for that Derby side, and they ended up finishing outside the playoffs. Not suggesting that can happen with Coventry, but the control aspect is a big thing. From November onwards, they've lacked that. And like I said, Matt Grimes is doing a big job on his own in that midfield. He needs support. He needs a Ben Sheaf-like player alongside him to really give more robustness in that midfield and more energy, because that's the thing that's lacking. And again, I think they need an experienced centre-back to come in and either be a guide for Bobby Thomas and Liam Kitching, but maybe be a starter as well, especially when you're managing games. That's been the big issue, because the game momentum swung so viciously here that you need an experienced head to come in, calm things down, and they didn't have that.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that, and I wouldn't be surprised if Coventry do some more business before the transfer window closes next week. But I mean, their weaknesses were all on show in this game, weren't they? For all the reasons you just mentioned there. But I look at the big picture here, and at one point, Coventry were 12 points clear at the top of the table, Justin. Now they're 3 points clear of Middlesbrough in second. It's quite astonishing, really, how they have been properly reeled back in like this. But the bigger cause for concern with them, aside from their own form, is the four teams below them all look like they're hitting their best form of the season, don't they? Middlesbrough obviously won 4 on the bounce. Kim Hellberg really getting a tune out of that side. Ipswich obviously lost at the weekend, but they won 4 on the bounce prior to that. No shame in losing against Sheffield United, and I would fully back them to. Oh, they'll have Coventry right in their sights. I mean, Hull don't seem to be going away, do they? 3 wins on the bounce for them, 4 wins in 5. Continue to be hanging around there. And Millwall, I think, look like they may be hitting their stride as well. So I would be nervy as anything if I was a Coventry fan, because you've got all those teams behind them. Obviously, they were flying at the start, but it looks like if this was a race, they would be starting to be panting and what have you. Well, all those other teams seem to be only just getting up to speed. So yeah, it's a real concern for Coventry. But as far as the automatic promotion race is looking, it's absolutely thrilling from a neutral perspective, isn't it? Justin, we've done some polls for our viewers who are watching us live on this YouTube live stream tonight. The first poll we put out is this: is Philippe Clement your manager of the season so far? Yes or no?
Sergei Rakitic wants a word, Ryan.
Yeah, he's definitely a shout. There's a fair few who are worthy of a shout. Excuse me. I don't think there's a particular standout. Obviously, Frank Lampard would probably be leading the charts at the moment, but obviously with the way things are going, who knows? 55% of people said yes, Philippe Clement is their manager of the season so far. 45% said no. Are Norwich better with or without Josh Sargent? Yes or no? Or with or without, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, they're better without him, aren't they? Get him gone.
Well, the stats certainly indicate that they seem to be. If you were to look prior to this season, you would definitely say no, they definitely need him. But just look how things are going right now. 27% said they're better with, 73% said they're better without. And finally, is it better to be on top or the bottom of a seesaw? Yes or top or bottom, Justin? I keep saying yes or no.
Of a seesaw. I think bottom. I think the top supported. Let's break down the physics. Top supported by the bottom. As soon as the bottom goes, top comes hurtling down. You're gonna hurt your knees.
Yeah, if you're bottom, then you're in control, aren't you?
Yes,
There's
you are.
some strange undertones to this
It's
conversation.
after
I
10
think.
o'clock. We can let's lean into it.
I think we should leave it there, to be honest. 67% of people said top, 33% said bottom. But there you go, ladies and gents. This has been the Second Tier Podcast, and this has been us reacting straight off the back of Norwich City's dramatic win over Coventry City. Another massive result in the grand scheme of this season, both at the top and bottom of the table. And it could have huge ramifications as time goes on. So thank you very much for joining us if you are watching us live tonight. We'll be back again on Thursday, where we'll be doing a news roundup of everything going on from across the Championship. Of course, transfer deadline day is not far away now, ladies and gents. And we'll be back with another live stream next Monday for transfer deadline day, where we'll be reacting to all the deadline day deals. So we'll see you again next week for that. But until then, see you next Thursday for all the latest from across the Champo. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for watching.